Hello again, my name is Kaushik Naik and today I am here to explain about two most important topics which one must know when they work with the topmost layer, which is the application layer of AUTOSAR. Before going through what this composition and connectors, it is necessary to know what are ports and port interfaces. So I have covered about port and port interfaces in my past video. If you haven't watched it yet, link will be available in the description. So what are compositions and connectors? By definition, composition is a software component type that clusters or aggregates other software components or compositions. In simple terms, a composition could be understood as a container that can hold group of software components. Now, what does it mean by connector? We know that communication is established through ports and data is passed from provider port to receiver port. In a real-time system, we might have n number of such provider and receiver ports, and who is connected to whom is decided by connector configuration. A connector can be one of these two types, that is assembly connector or delegation connector. Let's understand in detail what this connector means with example. Let's take two software components that has sender receiver and client server communication with two provider and two receiver ports. We shall place them under a composition called as composition 1. To connect these two ports, we can use a simple assembly connector. An assembly connector is used to connect two ports within the same composition. This is how an assembly connector configuration will look like. An assembly connector will bind a provider and a receiver port within it. Above in this configuration, we could see composition software component for composition 1 created, and this encapsulate these two software components, a software SWC1 and SWC2. Now let's consider another software component in the system, which is software component 3, and this is placed in a new composition called composition 2. If we have a closer look, we could notice that composition 2 encapsulates composition 1 as well. As defined, a composition can have both components and compositions. Let's take a same example again. We have two ports in software component 3 to be connected to software component 1 and software component 2. Here we cannot make a direct assembly connection since both has different parent compositions. The rule for using an assembly connector is that the ports to be connected from software components should have same parent compositions. From this example, the parent of SWC1 and 2 are composition 1 and the parent of SWC is composition 2. So an assembly connector cannot be used here. To do this, we will have to extend the existing ports to outer composition using delegation connectors. Software component 1 and 2 have their ports extended to outer composition using delegation connector. So now composition 1 will have the ports defined in it. A simple configuration on how it looks like in the configuration file is here. A delegation connector extends the inner port from the component to the outer composition. A new mirror port is also created on the outer composition, and the delegation connector connects this outer port to the inner port of the component. Let's now again look if the connection is possible. The opposite connecting ports for software component 3 are now available within the same parent, and we can now have an assembly connector between composition 1 and software component 3. The connection is complete now. An additional difference between these two connectors is that An assembly connector connects a provider and receiver ports, but a delegation connector connects the same port type, either provider to provider or receiver to receiver. Every port connection should finally end with the assembly connector configuration. Hope it's now clear on when to use an assembly and delegation connector. That's all for this video. Let me know if there are any query on this topic in the comment section. I would love to answer those. Don't forget to hit a like button and also subscribe to my channel to be up to date with the upcoming videos on some other topic of automotive embedded system. Bye for now.